Do you remember the night Max lit the black flame candle and accidentally brought the Sanderson sisters back to life? It felt like just a fun Halloween story back then. But more than 30 years later, the real story is far darker than fiction. Some of the cast are completely unrecognizable, and others are gone forever. Join us as we reveal who they really are today, and who didn't make it to 2026. Charles Rocket as Dave Dennison. Charles Rocket was born on August 28, 1949, in Bangor, Maine. At 43 years old, he played Dave Dennison, the father of Max and Danny in Hocus Pocus. Though a supporting role, his character helped anchor the film's family dynamic, providing a grounded contrast to the supernatural chaos. Behind the scenes, his marriage to Beth Krellin, whom he married in 1972 aboard the USS Massachusetts, lasted decades, and they had a son, Zane, born in 1976. However, the defining rupture in his life came from his career rather than his home. On February 21, 1981, during a live episode of Saturday Night Live watched by millions, Rocket broke broadcast norms by saying, "I'd like to know who fucking did it," while still on air. The moment triggered immediate backlash, negative national press, and became one of the most infamous live TV mistakes in American television history. Within weeks, NBC replaced the show's producer and removed Rocket from the cast. At a time when he had appeared in more sketches than any other male cast member that season and was positioned as a successor to stars like Bill Murray and Chevy Chase, the dismissal abruptly halted his rise and reshaped his entire trajectory. And while the scandal defined the turning point, the years that followed revealed a quieter, more enduring struggle. Rocket continued working steadily but without regaining his earlier momentum. He appeared in films such as Dances with Wolves, 1990, which won 7 Academy Awards including Best Picture, and later played the villain Nicholas Andre in Dumb and Dumber, 1994, a film that grossed over $247 million worldwide. He also took on roles in Moonlighting, Max Headroom, and Touched by an Angel, often cast in supporting or antagonist roles. On October 7, 2005, Charles Rocket was found dead on his Connecticut property with his throat slit. He was 56 years old. 10 days later, the death was officially ruled a suicide after investigation confirmed no criminal involvement. The circumstances were widely reported due to their severity, marking one of the most disturbing endings among television figures of his era. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was around $1.5 million, reflecting a career that endured but never fully recovered from a single, irreversible moment on live television. Bette Midler as Winifred Sanderson. Bette Midler was born on December 1, 1945, in Honolulu, Hawaii. At 47 years old, she played Winifred Sanderson, the powerful and eccentric leader of the Sanderson sisters in Hocus Pocus. Her performance became the defining force of the film, turning the character into a cult icon that continues to attract audiences decades later. But long before that iconic role, her early life was shaped by loss and isolation. Growing up in a modest Jewish family in Hawaii, she often spoke about feeling like an outsider, and that sense of disconnection deepened when her sister Judith died in 1968 after being struck by a car in New York. As her career began to rise with projects like The Rose, 1979, which earned her an Academy Award nomination, and later Beaches, 1988, she also faced professional tensions, including early conflicts with collaborator Barry Manilow. Despite these challenges, she pushed forward, building a career that would eventually earn her the rare EGOT status, with Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Awards. At the same time, her personal life found a rare sense of stability. She married artist Martin von Hasselberg in 1984, and their marriage has lasted over 4 decades, with their daughter Sophie born in 1986. While balancing family life, she continued to expand her career across music, film, and Broadway, returning to the stage in Hello, Dolly, in 2017, a performance that earned her a Tony Award and reaffirmed her enduring presence in the industry. She also remained active in philanthropy, founding the New York Restoration Project and investing millions into environmental and community initiatives. As of 2026, Bette Midler is 80 years old and remains active in entertainment, having reprised her role in Hocus Pocus 2, 2022, and continuing to appear in film and television projects. With an estimated net worth of around $250 million, she stands as one of the most enduring figures in show business, not only for her talent, but for her ability to transform personal hardship into a lasting legacy. Garry Marshall as Master. Garry Marshall was born on November 13, 1934 in Manhattan, New York. At 58 years old, he played Master, the man dressed as a devil in Hocus Pocus. Though brief, his appearance added comedic texture to the film, reflecting the same timing and charm that defined his broader career. But behind that lighthearted cameo was a happy lifetime. He married Barbara Sue Wells in 1963, and their marriage lasted more than 5 decades, producing 3 children, Scott, Lori, and Kathleen. While his personal life remained stable, his professional life was defined by relentless output. He created Happy Days, 1974 to 1984, a series that ran for 255 episodes and became one of the most successful sitcoms of its era, and later directed major box office hits like Pretty Woman, 1990, which grossed over $463 million worldwide, and Runaway Bride, 1999. His ability to consistently deliver commercially successful and culturally resonant projects placed him among the most influential figures in Hollywood. In later years, his health began to decline following a stroke, which significantly weakened him and led to complications including pneumonia. Despite these setbacks, he continued working on projects such as Valentine's Day, 2010, and Mother's Day, 2016, maintaining creative involvement well into his final years. His career also earned him a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and multiple industry honors. On July 19, 2016, Garry Marshall died at the age of 81 in Burbank, California, due to complications of pneumonia following a stroke. He was cremated at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills Cemetery, and a memorial service was held at California State University, Northridge. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was around $50 million, representing not only financial success, but the lasting impact of a career that helped shape modern American entertainment. Sarah Jessica Parker as Sarah Sanderson. Sarah Jessica Parker was born on March 25, 1965, in Nelsonville, Ohio. At 28 years old, she played Sarah Sanderson, the flirtatious, hypnotic witch in Hocus Pocus. Her performance gave the film a seductive and unpredictable energy, helping make the Sanderson sisters feel distinct, dangerous, and unforgettable. Yet the roots of her drive were planted long before Hollywood turned her into a global icon. From 1984 to 1991, she was in a long relationship with Robert Downey Jr., and she later admitted that his drug addiction weighed heavily on her because she felt responsible for holding him together. That experience left a lasting mark. In 1997, she married Matthew Broderick in Manhattan, and although tabloids spent years pushing rumors of tension and separation, the marriage endured. Together, they built a family with their son, James Wilkie, born in 2002, and twin daughters Marion and Tabitha, born via surrogacy in 2009, creating a far steadier home life than the one she had known growing up. As her personal life settled, her career moved into a different phase. She became a worldwide symbol through Sex and the City, a role that brought her multiple Golden Globe and Emmy wins, then continued that momentum with projects like HBO's Divorce, which earned her another Golden Globe nomination, and later, And Just Like That, which reintroduced her to a new generation. In 2020, even a Broadway revival of Plaza Suite with Matthew Broderick was disrupted after she tested positive for COVID-19. Still, she kept moving, and in 2022, she returned to one of her most beloved roles in Hocus Pocus 2, linking her past success to her present relevance. Sarah Jessica Parker is 61 years old, and she remains active as an actress, producer, and fashion entrepreneur while continuing her work on screen and on stage. With an estimated net worth of around $200 million, she stands as one of the rare stars who turned early hardship into lasting influence, while still carrying the poise of someone who knows exactly how fragile stability can be. Penny Marshall as Master's wife. Penny Marshall was born on October 15, 1943, in the Bronx, New York. At 49 years old, she played Master's wife, the humorous partner to Master in Hocus Pocus. Though a brief cameo, her natural comedic timing added a memorable touch. But behind that light-hearted screen presence was a personal life marked by complicated relationships. She first married football player Michael Henry in 1963 after becoming pregnant at 19, leaving college to raise their daughter Tracy. The marriage lasted only 3 years. In 1971, she married actor-director Rob Reiner, who later adopted Tracy. But that relationship also ended in divorce in 1981. Not long after, tragedy struck again when her partner, actor Larry Breeding, died in a car accident in 1982. These repeated disruptions in her personal life unfolded alongside her rising career, where she transitioned from sitcom star to a groundbreaking director with films like Big, 1988, which became the first film directed by a woman to gross over $100 million, and A League of Their Own, 1992. However, as her professional achievements grew, serious health battles began to emerge. Around 2009, she was diagnosed with lung cancer that had spread to her brain, forcing her into a difficult fight that required both physical and emotional endurance. She later recovered and publicly stated she was fine, even publishing her memoir, My Mother Was Nuts. But the long-term effects of her condition remained part of her later years. Despite these challenges, she continued to be recognized for her contributions, receiving honors such as the Women in Film Crystal Award. Penny Marshall passed away on December 17, 2018, in Los Angeles at the age of 75, due to complications including cardiopulmonary failure, cardiac arrest, and type 1 diabetes. She was cremated and her ashes placed at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills, with a headstone marked by the iconic L from her Laverne character. At the time of her passing, her estimated net worth was around $45 million, a reflection of a career that not only achieved financial success, but also changed opportunities for women in Hollywood. Kathy Najimy as Mary Sanderson. Kathy Najimy was born on February 6, 1957, in San Diego, California. At 36 years old, she played Mary Sanderson, the sharp-nosed, comic, fiercely loyal witch in Hocus Pocus. Her performance brought chaos, rhythm, and comic bite to the film, helping balance the darker energy of the Sanderson sisters with something wildly entertaining. But the force she brought to the screen was shaped by battles that were much more personal than supernatural comedy. Najimy lost her father, Fred Najimy, when she was only 14, a painful break that came early and left its own emotional weight. Later, as she entered Hollywood, she faced another kind of damage, an industry that repeatedly reduced women to body size before talent. She has spoken openly about the pressure placed on her appearance and the struggle to avoid being boxed into roles that existed only to mock or define her weight. That fight became part of her identity, and it also influenced the life she built outside of work. In 1998, she married actor and singer Dan Finnerty in a ceremony officiated by Gloria Steinem, and together they raised their daughter Samia. That tension, however, did not stop her from building one of the most durable careers in the cast. She first broke through nationally with The Kathy and Mo Show, then gained major recognition in Sister Act and Sister Act 2. Her role as Peggy Hill on King of the Hill ran from 1997 to 2010 and returned again in 2025, proving how enduring her voice and comic identity became. She also appeared in projects such as Rat Race, Wall-E, Veep, Dumplin', and Single All the Way, while remaining a visible activist for women's rights, LGBTQ rights, reproductive freedom, and body image issues. Her public work was not decorative activism either. She won $50,000 for the Feminist Majority Foundation on the Weakest Link and donated $100,000 to anti-violence causes after winning Celebrity Poker Showdown. Kathy Najimy is 69 years old in 2026, and she remains active as an actress, voice performer, producer, and activist, still building work that reflects both humor and conviction. With an estimated net worth of around $8 million, she represents something more valuable than easy fame, a career built on persistence, principle, and the refusal to let the industry define her worth on shallow terms. Omri Katz as Max Dennison. Omri Katz was born on May 30, 1976 in Los Angeles, California. At 17 years old, he played Max Dennison, the skeptical teenager at the center of Hocus Pocus. His role gave the film its emotional and narrative backbone, because Max was the one who pulled the audience into the danger, the comedy, and the coming-of-age tension all at once. Yet the strange part of Omri Katz's story is that his biggest screen visibility came early. He had already built a name for himself as a child actor through Dallas and Erie, Indiana, which meant he entered Hocus Pocus with real experience, not just fresh-faced potential. But that early momentum did not turn into the kind of adult career many expected. Instead, as the years moved forward, he began to feel the exhaustion of an industry. Katz later admitted that he struggled to find roles that felt right and became tired of the entertainment business itself, a frustration that explains why his career slowly narrowed instead of expanding. And once that disillusionment set in, his professional life began moving in a very different direction. He had appeared in projects such as Matinee and Adventures in Dinosaur City, and for a time he looked like someone who could transition successfully from child stardom into a steady adult career. That did not happen. By 2002, he had stepped away from Hollywood altogether, choosing distance over a constant fight for relevance. In later years, he worked as a hairdresser and eventually became involved in California's cannabis business through the Merry Danksters, a move that surprised many fans, but also made clear that he no longer wanted his identity to depend entirely on acting. Rather than cling to old fame, he built a quieter life outside the machinery that had once defined him. Omri Katz is 49 years old in 2026, and he remains best remembered for the films and television work that made him a familiar face in the late 1980s and early 1990s, even though he chose a life away from mainstream Hollywood. With an estimated net worth of around $1.5 million, his story feels less like a collapse than a retreat. Thora Birch as Danny Dennison. Thora Birch was born on March 11, 1982 in Los Angeles, California. At 11 years old, she played Danny Dennison, Max's fearless, sharp-tongued little sister in Hocus Pocus. Her performance gave the film much of its heart and spark, because Danny was not just cute or comic, she made the danger feel personal and the story feel alive. But the years after that early success revealed how fragile a child star's path can become when control slips out of her own hands. Birch went on to deliver major work in American Beauty, which helped win the Academy Award for Best Picture and brought her a BAFTA nomination, and in Ghost World, where her performance became deeply influential for a generation of young outsiders. Yet even with that level of credibility, her momentum slowed dramatically. One of the most persistent explanations was the disruptive role of her father, Jack Birch, who also acted as her manager and developed a reputation for aggressive involvement. Reports and industry rumors suggested that his behavior made productions uneasy and complicated working relationships, and over time that kind of tension can damage a career even when the actress herself remains respected. And while the professional slowdown became the visible part of the story, her later years showed that she had not disappeared so much as recalibrated. Birch stepped away in part to focus on education, later earning a degree in legal studies, then returned with roles in Colony, The The Last Black Man in San Francisco, The Walking Dead, and 13 Minutes. In 2022, she made her directorial debut with The Gabby Petito Story, a project that drew attention but also criticism because of the ethics of dramatizing such a recent murder without the family's involvement. Thora Birch is 44 years old in 2026, and she continues working as an actress while also pursuing directing, with later projects such as The Chronology of Water drawing renewed praise for the depth and restraint of her performances. With an estimated net worth of around $4 million, her story remains one of the more complicated in Hollywood, not because the talent disappeared, but because the path around that talent was made harder than it should have been. Vinessa Shaw as Allison Watts. Vinessa Shaw was born on July 19, 1976 in Los Angeles, California. At 16 years old, she played Allison Watts, the intelligent, mysterious classmate who helps Max and Danny fight the witches in Hocus Pocus. Her role gave the film elegance and balance, because Allison was not just a love interest, but a calm, capable presence inside the growing Halloween chaos. But behind that poised screen image, her personal life would later become far more fragile than it first appeared. Shaw married Christopher Gifford on November 30, 2007, and for years their life seemed to settle into a quieter rhythm away from the noise that often surrounds former child stars. They welcomed a son in February 2018, which marked an important new chapter, yet that stability did not last. The couple separated on October 25, 2023, and Gifford formally filed for divorce in May 2025, bringing a long relationship to a legal and emotional breaking point. That ending came after more than 15 years of marriage, and it added a note of private upheaval to a life that had otherwise remained relatively low profile in public. And while her marriage was changing, her career had already gone through its own period of uncertainty and redirection. Shaw began as a child actress and model, then broke through with Hocus Pocus, but there was a moment when she nearly stepped away from acting altogether while studying at Barnard College in New York. Everything shifted when Stanley Kubrick cast her in Eyes Wide Shut, 1999, and from there, she built a steady, if less flashy career through films such as The Hills Have Eyes, 2006, 3:10 to Yuma, 2007, Two Lovers, 2008, Side Effects, 2013, and Ray Donovan, 2014. She also spoke openly about loneliness and depression during her college years, explaining that she used Buddhist practice and daily chanting to cope with the emotional disorientation she felt at that time. Vinessa Shaw is 49 years old in 2026, and she continues acting in film and television after recent appearances in projects such as Swagger, Cruel Intentions, and Yellowstone. With an estimated net worth of around $2 million, her career reflects endurance more than spectacle, and that may be why her journey feels more human than many of the larger legends around her. Doug Jones, as Billy Butcherson. Doug Jones was born on May 24, 1960, in Indianapolis, Indiana. At 33 years old, he played Billy Butcherson, the undead former lover of Winifred Sanderson in Hocus Pocus. Though hidden beneath elaborate makeup, his performance gave the film one of its strangest and most memorable figures. But the irony of Doug Jones's life is that the very gift that made him extraordinary also kept him partially invisible. In 1984, he married his college sweetheart, Lori Pontoni, and that marriage became the steady foundation beneath a career built on physical discomfort, anonymity, and constant transformation. While many actors chase recognition through their faces, Jones built his reputation under layers of prosthetics, masks, bodysuits, and creature effects that often made him unrecognizable to the public. That came with real strain. Long hours inside heavy costumes, restricted breathing, heat, pain, and the frustration of sometimes watching his body create the performance while other voices or more marketable names were placed over his work. One of the clearest examples came in Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, 2007, when he physically performed the Silver Surfer, but Lawrence Fishburne provided the voice. a decision that left Jones deeply disappointed and later pushed him to negotiate better protection for his performances. And yet, instead of being broken by that kind of career, he turned it into a singular legacy. Jones became what Hollywood rarely produces, a true creature performance specialist whose body language could carry entire characters. His collaborations with Guillermo del Toro in Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, Crimson Peak, and especially The Shape of Water made him one of the most respected physical actors in fantasy cinema. Doug Jones is 65 years old in 2026, and he remains active as an actor known for creature roles, genre work, and a career that has outlasted trends while earning deep respect from filmmakers and fans alike. With an estimated net worth of around $2.5 million, his success was never built on conventional stardom, but on endurance, discipline, and the quiet power of making audiences believe in beings that should never have felt real at all. Sean Murray as Thackeray Binks. Sean Murray was born on November 15, 1977 in Bethesda, Maryland. At 15 years old, he played Thackeray Binks, the cursed boy seen in human form in Hocus Pocus. Even though his screen time was limited and his dialogue was later dubbed, his performance gave the story its first real tragedy. But the emotional fractures in his own life would come much later. Murray's parents divorced when he was 15, the same age he made Hocus Pocus, and that upheaval was followed by a major move to Los Angeles with his mother. Decades later, he seemed to have created the family stability that had once been shaken in adolescence when he married teacher Carrie James on November 26, 2005. They went on to have 2 children, daughter Kay Ryan in 2007 and son River James in April 2010. That long marriage lasted nearly 19 years before the couple separated in March 2024, with the divorce finalized in May 2025. For an actor whose public image had long been tied to consistency and quiet reliability, that very public ending marked a painful break in the private life he had carefully kept out of the spotlight. And while his marriage was unraveling, his professional life remained unusually durable in the industry. Before NCIS, Murray appeared in JAG, Hearts of the West, and This Boy's Life, but everything changed when he took on the role of Timothy McGee. By May 2024, he had become the longest-serving cast member in NCIS, a remarkable milestone on a series that had already lasted more than 2 decades and hundreds of episodes. That kind of run did not make him the flashiest star on television, but it made him one of the most enduring. Sean Murray is 48 years old in 2026, and he remains best known as one of the core faces of NCIS after more than 20 years in the role of Special Agent Timothy McGee. With an estimated net worth of around $8 million, his life reflects a rare combination of longevity and restraint. So looking back at Hocus Pocus. Then and now, 1993 versus 2026, the real question isn't just how much the cast has changed, but who is still here and who we've already lost along the way. Time has rewritten every story in ways no one could have predicted. Which transformation surprised you the most, and which loss hit the hardest? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more then and now stories like this.